Alexander O'Neill and Criticise here on BBC Radio Nottingham on this Friday morning. And you're listening to me, Chance Litchfield, until 2 o'clock today. But next this morning, we're talking history and one of the famous events from Nottinghamshire's past involving royalty. In 1646, it's recorded that King Charles I was forced to surrender and gave himself up to the Scottish Army in Southwell. It was a turning point for the king, who was later beheaded. And there's a hotel in the town where he stayed, which you can still visit. And this Saturday, Daniel Williams will be there to tell the whole story. This is fantastic. Love a bit of history. And I'm pleased to say Daniel joins us on the show this morning. Hello, Daniel. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Chance. Thanks for having me on BBC Radio Nottingham.
It's an absolute pleasure. History is a beautiful thing, and I'm sure you're excited to be telling this very interesting story. And now, I'm aware you don't live in Nottinghamshire, but came across the Saracen's Head in Southwell during a special walk, if I'm right?
Yes. Basically, I've been following the trail of King Charles I, and so as it's progressed, it's ended up in Southwell and finding the Saracen's Head, and it was an absolute gem to discover. Its beauty and its history and its architecture is absolutely mind-blowing.
And so did you do a bit of research into it, or did you find out more? Or was it for you when you came across the Saracen's Head? Were you thinking, wow, look at this, still here from all those years ago, and think about the amount of history that the place beholds?
That's right. I mean, knowing the king was there and what actually happened, it was such a pivotal part of his history, and one where he was betrayed, basically. And so it's a big deal. But to actually walk into the building and hear the wood beams creaking as you walked in, and seeing all the wood panelling that had been found over the years, rediscovered, absolutely amazing. We were talking 10 plus kings visited, and even Charles Dickens, the writer, and the Beatles even. Amazing.
Well, the place has seen it all over the years, hasn't it, nearly? And, you talk about the pivotal importance of the Saracen's Head in the story of King Charles. Why might that be? Why might it be so important?
It's so important because the English Civil War, as it grew, had so many twists and turns. And because of them twists and turns, you never know which way it was going to go. And so at one stage, he thought he'd be safe with the Scottish. They wanted a particular sort of religion. And so he was basically promising to give them that. But they weren't happy. They decided they wanted money and handed him over to the English Parliament. And so the king went down another rabbit hole, so to speak. And he was just basically a bargaining chip because he was so powerful. Everybody wanted a piece of him to claim that they had him and they had the power. And so this went on for a good long time. It's so many twists and turns involved that it's such an intriguing story, really.
Yeah, do you know what I love? I love when there are buildings with so much history still standing with a lot of the original structure. Now, you said going in there and seeing the wooden beams, I'd imagine it's very surreal. It was rebuilt in the 1600s, so it's still got many of the original features from the 12th century, yeah?
That's right, yeah. I mean, with old buildings as well, even the wood beams can come from ships as well. So you're talking history upon history. And that was an amazing discovery I made recently, hearing about the ship's beams, that a lot of buildings had pieces from other buildings that were reused. And also the building itself has got a great claim to fame on top of just being historical. And that is for its spooky goings on as well, if you already know about that.
Can we find out a little bit more about them spooky goings on?
Yeah, of course. Well, you always hear these stories, don't you? And they've always intrigued me, to be honest. And I started to go on the odd ghost hunt years ago out of interest. I ended up going on Most Haunted as well, meeting the Yvette Fielding, really nice lady, by the way. And so that was great. I did have the odd experience, and you're scratching your head thinking, did that actually happen or did it not happen? And so as these things go on, you begin to realise, yes, these things are actually happening. And of course you get people that go, nah, don't believe you and all that. But anyway, I decided to stay at the Saracen's Head in the King Suite on my own, which is quite a brave move, you could say. Bearing in mind what's been said about it, it's been said to have had a cavalier haunting it, a maid that goes round shaking the bed of the visitor, the guest, to wake them up. And so I stayed there, and during the night, within half an hour, the tap was gushing in the bathroom, and I heard this noise. I thought, what the hell's that rushed in? It was gushing out, and I thought, that's got to be me. So I like hit that one ahead. I thought, nah. Because I look for rational explanations. I don't like go, oh my God, it's haunted, this happened to me or whatever. I'll tell the truth. And so this is what's going to come out in my book that I've just finished writing, which is part of the story. And so with the Saracen's Head, I stayed there and I decided to video the whole night. And during the night, it felt a bit strange, but nothing particularly happened in front of me that night. But I decided to watch back 8 hours, would you believe it, of recorded material during the night to see if anything was captured. And I was a bit shocked. I captured a voice. There were bangs in the room, like as in knocks on wood. One right by where I got the camera recording, which was so obvious at the table in front, it was proper bang. But the best was just when I'd given up completely watching the whole recording and thinking I can't watch anymore. It's like brain drain now, you're talking, watching seconds into hours. In the end, I heard this squeaking noise on the screen and got distracted and thought, what's that? And looked and I was like, you're joking me. Looked again and you could see the bottom of the bed was being pushed up and down very, very aggressively. And I'm thinking, well, surely I should have woken up at that stage. And I could hear that I'm actually starting to like snore out of my sleep, like somebody's trying to wake you up and you don't quite wake up. And it was all captured on film. Absolutely amazing. But it was there. And when I showed the receptionist at the Saracen's Head, she was shocked because she'd known herself about things and experienced the odd thing herself. But when she saw that, she was like, okay.
Goodness me. Well, I'd rather you than me, Daniel, in that instance, mate. So, fair enough. And good going watching through that 8 hours and seeing all that. It's very interesting indeed. It's clear to see there's history and still so much more in the Saracen's Head, where you're going to be tomorrow giving your talk, and that's from 12 until 3 tomorrow.
That's right. And the fabulous Mr. David, the owner, 83 years old, and he still takes breakfast out, checks in the guests. He's got such a witty repartee with everybody. What a man, 83 years old. That's inspirational, isn't it? Still running the Saracen's Head.
Yeah, that really is. Well, Daniel, thanks for joining us on the show and telling us a little bit more. And we look forward to seeing the talk tomorrow.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Chance. Take care.
Absolute pleasure. You too. There's Daniel, who will be appearing at the Saracen's Head in Southwell tomorrow from 12 until 3 to share some of the stories about King Charles I and others who've stayed there. It's the Bramley Festival running in Southwell that day as well tomorrow, with all sorts of other activities going on. And it was what a pleasure as well to speak to Daniel about his experiences staying there and the rich history that comes with that pub in Southwell.